Hello, my quilting friends. Welcome back. My name is Laura. You found LalaDee's Stitches, and today's episode is a quilting bee. Our last one was in December. I do these videos every other month, so I've got 2 months of goodies to share, and there's lots. So we're going to dive right in. I hope you'll forgive my voice if it kind of gets a little gravelly at some point. I've been sick for the last week and I'm feeling better, but it's winter, so it seems to be that time of year. Anyways, I'm also hoping I can avoid a coughing fit. I'm not sure that'll happen, so I'll pause if I need to, but you guys won't even notice, so. Okay, so let's dive right into it. I have 3 finishes to start with, which is pretty exciting. One of them you saw the top for, and I quilted it since we met in December, and the other 2 are smalls. So we'll start with the smalls since I can do them sitting down. So the first one, both of them come from Joe's Little Favorites by Joe Morton. And I've made all of these in the past, and I'm just kind of doing updated versions since the planes are out today. Sorry, forgive the noise, the background noise, but it totally derailed my brain. Anyways, I'm redoing them in new colors, fresh colors, as the old ones are either worn out and gone or I just wanted to refresh. So the first one was this. It's the what's it called? Its official name is 9-Patch Doll Quilt. And it's very cute. And I wanted something that was going to be a bit more wintry, a little less season specific. Not that this one was, not that the sample was, but just as far as decorations in my house goes. So I did mine in blues, grays, and browns, just to give it that cool but warm. And I just pulled scraps and backing, and I stitched in the ditch on this one, just real simple for my quilting. But I'm really happy with how it turned out, and it's been in our bedroom since, well, I guess it was in the living room in January. And then, then when January ended and I brought out some, a little bit brighter, more Valentine's Day-y kind of stuff, I put this in our bedroom because our bedroom is definitely blues, browns, greens, very earthy tones, so fits in nicely. Yeah. It was fun. These are always very satisfying because they're just quick projects. I mean, if you're doing nothing else, you could do it in start to finish in a week, easy. So, yeah. And then my next one I did, I find it in the book, is the bordered toile, which is this one. And I did this one very similar to the original the first time around, and I still have it, so I can show you. It's very old. My quilting is done in white. It's not even cream. I was young and poor, and I used what I had. But I was very brave with my quilting, like the gridded corner and the grid through the middle. I love the grid through the middle. And then I stitched in the ditch for the rows. And yeah, it's just been a real nice basic. You can pull it out at Christmas, pull it out at Valentine's Day, 4th of July, whenever you want. All year round if you've got red in your decor scheme. And looks like I put some kind of woven something on the back. Again, I'm sure I just used what I had, but so that's my first version. It's very old, and I wanted something. I realized I have very little my husband and I don't do a lot for Valentine's Day. Our wedding anniversary is at the end of January. And so then 2 weeks later, you know, Valentine's Day. And he's never been big into it. I always thought it was fun, but, you know, it's just, we never made a big deal out of it, which is fine. But this year I found myself wanting, you know, just a little sprinkle here and there because red and pink is so cute. And I'm really enjoying that color combination right now. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to make something. I'm going to make something Valentine's Day and that'll be fun. And I considered trying to do a lap quilt and I was like, no, I don't really have enough scraps to go for that. So I'll just do something small, and I wanted it to be quick so I could use it. So this is a very quick project. And this is my new version, which turned out so cute. I love it. I have yards of this fabric. I don't remember if I had bought it for a backing or what, because it was many years ago. But it's so cute. And that kind of became my inspiration focus piece, and I built out from there, and I tried to keep them as Valentine's Day themed as I could, which is a couple blenders tossed in. And then my backing was just something I had a fat quarter of, so it was big enough to back it. And something interesting, oh, my quilting was fun. I did little hearts and then just like stippling. So that's pretty fun. And this has been on our coffee table for the last couple weeks. So I've been enjoying that. Something interesting. So this one is at least 15 years old, maybe older. And it's been washed many, many times. I don't know if it's the backing fabric because it is a woven, if it shrank more than your typical quilter's cotton. But as I was picking these up, look at the difference in size. After years of washing. Same pattern. They would have been cut the same size. I just thought it was interesting. I didn't realize there was quite that much shrinkage after years and years of washing. And again, I don't know if it's because of my backing choice, because that would definitely be a fabric. It's a looser weave. It would definitely shrink more. But I don't know, just interesting. There's nothing wrong with it. I like them both. Neither are bad size, but also just a different style. So I love this. I love things like this because you can see any pattern can fit what you like. If you like batiks, if you like classic reproduction prints, if you like bright, modern, you know, themed prints, anything goes, right? Quilting is so much fun, and it really expresses your personality as it is at the moment. And yeah. Okay, toss those back there. So that was really fun. I got those two done, and I wasn't going to show this till later, but I think it's a good moment. And then a couple weeks ago, maybe a little bit more, maybe it was mid-January, I got some happy mail, and one of you lovely viewers offered, well, just asked for my address and said you'd found something for me. And so I shared that and then received this in the mail, and what fun. So Joe's Little Favorites, I think it's a series of 3. And so I've done these ones several times, and I had expressed in my last video, just kind of offhand, how much fun it would be to have the others and, you know, add some more variety to my small quilt collection. And so you sent me one, so thank you so much. And you can see I've flagged 3 projects that I'd like to, I mean, I want to do them all, of course, but 3 that I'm drawn to. Let me see if I can show without showing a lot of pattern. So here's the first one, just so cute. I just love the idea of something, you know, with like a fresh spring vibe. So that will be fun. And then I also really liked, I'm loving a 9 patch these days. It's so pretty. So once I find a border print, I'll just go scrappy based off of that. And last but not least, this one I'm also waiting to find a good print for that, because it's such a statement. Even though it's subtle and a lighter print, it's got to be something. And my stash is definitely I have a few big pieces, but they're really more focus pieces. They would definitely demand a lot more attention than that. And the rest of my scraps I'm finding as I'm starting to pull, I've been using my scraps a lot for the last couple of years, which is great. And that's why I have a stash, a collection, a closet of fabric. But I'm starting to have smaller pieces available. So at some point I'll have to do a truly scrappy piece, just like a scrap buster, to use up those small pieces, and then we'll have to start building again. So collecting again. Anyways, so I'm excited I've looked a couple times, but honestly my brain's been in a weird place for the last month or so. And so I haven't pulled any fabric for them yet. Every time I sat down to try, I would get 20 minutes into it and then just find myself completely flummoxed or roadblocked mentally. So anyways, but I'm very excited to have this and to get a couple of those worked up, because that'll be fun. Very fun, especially that basket one, the last one I showed. That'll be a really fun one to hang out on the wall, as a wall hanging rather than a table topper. Okay, where to put things? I guess I'll just place it there. Take a sip. Okay, last finish is I quilted Midnight at the Oasis. So I didn't pull out all the pattern stuff, that's all put away. If you want more information on that, check out my last Quilting Bee, which was my December 2024 video. And I showed the pattern and talked about it and everything. But I just got it quilted and bound, and it is ready. I even bought a rod with some hangers, and that'll be on the wall there next time we meet. So let's just look at this. First of all, here's my backing, which is so cute. And you'll be able to see as I come closer that I wound up, oh heavens, lost my slipper. I definitely had a bit of a quandary trying to figure out how to quilt this one, because I could go super complicated and like it's a medallion quilt. Here, I'll just show you. Am I far enough back? Got a new room layout, so it's a little still figuring things out. Oh my gosh, I love her so much. Anyway, so medallion quilt, which is layers, rings coming out from the center. I could have done each row different, stitched in the ditch, or done, like, I considered doing like echoing arches in my little mountains here, or, going a bit heavier in here so my points poked out. Like, I had lots of ideas. And ultimately what I decided was that the more intense the quilting I thought about or had ideas for, the more I felt like it would detract from all the piecing. And there's so much going on in this quilt that I just didn't want to make it busier. So I went with a real simple stipple, which is just a wandering stitch that never crosses over itself. And I figured that would be enough to tack it all down and look interesting. And I used this really fun, I don't know if it'll show, yeah, variegated. It's just a rainbow variegated that I had. And then I used a gray on the back because it would blend in. And I'm really happy. I'm really happy with the results. It did what I wanted it to. It gave it that quilted texture, but you still see and focus on, you know, the individual moments that are happening. So anyways, I love it, love it. I'm so proud of it. I'm so happy to have it done. And I'm really excited for it to become that, I keep pointing to the wrong spot, that area of the wall. So because of that, I'm going to have to take down, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I can't look backwards and point. Here, let's drag this over here. Point. There we go. Okay, so that quilt is a king size Liberty of London quilt that I made years ago and have been too chicken to quilt. But I'm feeling brave, and I have had the backing since I finished it. And so this past month I purchased a batting, and when I take that down, I'm going to layer it and pin it, and next week I'm going to quilt it. So that'll be a big moment for me. But then it also frees up the space for Oasis to go back there. So yeah, that's those plans, and yeah, that'll be really exciting. Okay, so that's not all I did though. That's really just what I did at the end of December. I guess I quilted Oasis in January, but the small quilts were really kind of, and cutting things out. I did a lot of prepping in the last week or two of December. And then, I'm so sorry. I'm so scattered today, you guys. Did a lot of prepping, and then I did my small quilts because I knew I wanted those ready for use in the first part of the year. And that was just a nice way to end the year. But then January came and I had all these things cut out. So I've made a lot of, I've done a lot of piecing in the last month and a half. So lots to show still. Okay, so let's talk. This is my brain binder. Beautiful. And in it, I have my first quarter goals, which I am making progress. I wound up, so Big Woods is a Sarah Filkey Tula pink collaboration block of the month that I've been a part of, and that is on pause for a plethora of reasons I don't want to get into right now. But so I had goals to keep up with that, and I have, you can see I've crossed that out. So that'll come back, but not right now. And let's see, I've accomplished those 3 goals and that one, and I still have other things to do. So, but this is like January through March, so I still have time, and I'm feeling really good about what I've done, which you'll see soon. And then I'll just show you guys for a couple of minutes. Well, I'll be quick, but I've had some inquiries about the details of my binder. Maybe I'll try to do just an extra. Maybe I won't do this right now. I won't go into the deeps. But the long and short of it is that this is my way of staying organized because I juggle a lot of projects. I, just like with my cross stitch, I like to work on a lot of different things at the same time and do little bits here and there and then have it all kind of come together in one big, woohoo, I did it. And for me, this has worked really well as a way to kind of set goals, make progress, track my patterns and my fabric selections, and especially when I'm in the planning phase of things, it works really well for me to just kind of get the bigger picture of a project. So the first one we're going to talk about briefly is this. This is Baker's Dozen by Jen Kingwell. Here is the book. This is my cover shot, so I have reference without pulling out patterns and stuff, and I just had an avalanche, but that's okay. So this is a really cool quilt. There's a lot going on in that. But this is one of her few projects that are completely machine pieced or hand pieced. You can hand piece them, but there's no applique. Most of her projects have applique or embroidery or something incorporated into the piecing. And this one is, doesn't have any of that. So I thought that it would go so fast. And I started this, gosh, a couple years ago, but it's not been as fast. And I've struggled to be motivated with it. Anyways, that's my own problem. This is the beginning of my palette page. I actually have the full scheme of fabrics separated out into a tote, but I've just been clipping off little pieces as I make my blocks. So this is the start, but not the totality of fabrics I'll be using for this project. But you can see they're 1800s reproductions, and they're very warm and rich, and yeah, it's gonna be cool when it's done. Unfortunately, I started it for my husband, and he has shown surprisingly little enthusiasm for what I've shown him. He has no idea I'm doing it for him, but you know, I kind of show him as I'm going, and I don't know. I think it's killed my buzz a little bit. So the first blocks I did are these. And I am missing one. I don't know if I never made it, though I have it marked off, so it's got to be floating somewhere. But I appear to be missing, there should be 4, and I have 3. These ones are very interesting because you use a template to cut out the diamonds, and then you make your little corner units, and then it's Y seams to sew them in. Not hard, but if you don't go slowly, it can kind of warp and skew, and they're a little funky. And I think that's what I found with a lot of these is that, so those I had done, and then this is what I've done in the last couple months. And I'll just kind of pop through them as I chatter at you, because there are quite a few of them. Though not all of them that I need to make. I'm about halfway through. Anyways, they're a bit funky, the blocks. Especially this style of block, the first one I made, which I think is this one, it just felt, and it looks fine. I'm sure it's just my brain being my brain. But they just felt a little skewed, like the points weren't centered, or I don't know, just little, they look fine in the camera. Maybe it was just anxiety, I don't know. Anyways, But they're cute little blocks. Maybe it was these ones that just felt, oops, not quite square. Yeah, they look fine. I should just get over myself. So they're all different. Oops, that one has a string on it. And yeah. Anyways, I think it's gonna be really neat. And because I'm using more creams, I mean, they're all prints, but more creams and tans in the background than Jen. She went pretty funky. So like I'm working on basically these stars around here right now. And I suppose she stayed pretty light, but you can see even here she's got some darker, more medium range backgrounds. And mine will stay pretty light. So it's going to have, there'll be a little bit less chaos, I think. I love her chaos. Her brand of chaos is happy to my brain. But I'm not making this for me. I'm making this for my husband. And I think this is more like when we go into quilt shops, he's definitely drawn to the 1800s section. That's where he always goes and points out, I like this fabric and I like this fabric. And so I think it'll all come together well. But I don't know. I made all of these little ones and then I just kind of lost my sparkle for it. I'll keep plugging away. I'll keep plugging away because there will be days I'll be like, ooh, I really want to stitch like warm browns and stuff like that. And this will be the perfect project to pull out. I had set a goal, a soft goal of having this done by Christmas for him. Let's see how the next few months goes. I might reassess and make it a next year birthday kind of thing, but who knows? Maybe I'll get excited about it again and it'll just fly together. I don't know. Maybe I'll completely reject it and anyways, moving on. Oh, here's my my tracker. So I've broken it up by block and then you can see my little highlighter marks. That's how many blocks I need. So here's the two little stars. And you can see I'm halfway through one of them and not even halfway through the next. So, but I had marked off those larger blocks that I had all 4 done. So I've got to do some digging around. I don't know where that would be hiding. I might have to make a replacement block. Ugh. Anyway, so there's that. The next project, I'll have to stand up to show you the blocks because they're a little bit bigger, but I've made really good I've been enjoying this one very much. I love Elizabeth Hartman. So North Stars, which I've talked about over the last year. I've kind of been gathering and curating and, you know, kind of finalizing the supplies I would use. And then I did the cutout for the first 3 blocks in December, and I have the first 6 done. So I've been very productive and I have the final 3 cut out. So my hope is that, you know, but before the end of March, I'll have this whole top done, because once the blocks are done, it's just sashing. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So let me show you the blocks and I'll kind of chatter about what I've done. Oh, I guess first I should show you here's my binder. I've broken it up. Oh my goodness, I'm finding this so bindery today. Yeah, so I've broken my goals up and they're going a little faster than I thought because we're only halfway through February and I'm already done with February's goals and I have the next one cut out. So I might have the blocks done by the end of February. Here's my palette page. Elizabeth Hartman is great. She provides, I'll show you. Here, she provides her palette page, so that you could, in theory, replicate her quilt exactly. But I just make a copy of this and then use it as the foundation for my fabric choices when I do her quilts. And it's awesome. It's awesome. And you can see in a couple of places I've done a little bit of customization. So I've added an extra fabric just because. And then I played with the layout, and I'll show you just so you can see the differences. It's subtle, but I have shifted my layout just a little bit. And part of that was, you can see I wrote what color I wanted mine to be. And I wanted, because I was shifting my colors a little less gray, a little bit more Aurora Borealis. I wanted an even distribution of the colors. So to achieve balance with my new palette, I just rearranged my critters a little bit. Okay, let's look at the blocks because they're cute. And I have debated the best way to do this because got a bunny in the way. Because they're big, they're gonna be backlit, I fear. I guess it is what it is. Okay, so the first one is our polar bear. Oh, there we go, that's pretty good. He's so cute. So the pattern is set up so you do your flying geese and your half square triangles in the first step, and there's a lot of them, as you can see, to make our beautiful stars. So I find that that's one morning's work, is just getting my flying geese and half square triangles going. And then the next day I come in and I make their faces. And sometimes I do like, the little angles. And then the next morning I'll come in and finish my critter. And then I'm usually pretty enthusiastic about trying to get my stars done and finish the block. But it's taken me about, 3 or 4 days per block with just a couple hours in the morning, 2 or 3 hours in the morning. But I love them. And this little, it's going to be hard to see, but you know how polar bears go they're kind of yellow midsummer? This fabric, it's not going to show, but it has a very soft, slight golden marbling into it. And anyways, it's so cute and it just feels so polar bear. So that's the first one. And then the second one was this cute little walrus. I love them. If I didn't want to finish them so much, I would have just made all the faces and then taken a picture of the faces, because the little faces are so cute when they're just floating on their own. I mean, of course they're cute when they're part of a critter too, but and I'm doing a combination of prints and batiks, and my background for some of them are batiks and some of them they aren't. This all came from stash. I didn't buy any fabric for this project. I hunted for several months for a background print and actually found one. It was a Ruby Star that I really liked. It was very subtle and it was that perfect like icy gray blue. But you needed like 4.5, 5 yards. That's almost a backing worth of fabric. And I was like, no, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way I can do this from stash. And fortunately, I had a collection of 1 yard pieces, and each block takes between a half yard and like 2/3 of a yard of backing fabric. Though I'm finding that with efficient cutting, she's giving ample fabric. I'm usually having 5 to 8 inches of leftover. So she's generous in her background fabric estimations. Oh my gosh, I love this one. I mean, of course I would. It's the cutest owl in the whole land. Oh, I love him so much. This batik was the inspiration point for the entire block. It is so gorgeous. I've been hoarding it for a long time, and this was the right moment. And this is actually, his little face is one of the hand-dyed fabrics from Oak Crown Studios, which you should go check out. She does cross-stitch fabric, but she also does cottons, and they are so beautiful. They're so beautiful. Anyway, so it's really fun to utilize one of those in here. And let's see. Okay, this is my narwhal. He's magical and he's so dramatic. And I had the hardest time picking a fabric for him because really narwhals aren't black. But I wanted him to be beautiful and magical, and because he's the unicorn of the sea, so he gets moons and stars, and oh my gosh, I love him so much. He's so cute. Anyways, what was I saying? I was talking about background fabrics. So I think I used 4 blocks with this one, and then you'll start to see, no, this one's still the same. We'll start to see, I think, the last 4 blocks. So maybe I must have done 5, I guess, with this batik, and then I didn't have enough for the other ones, so I've got 4 blocks, and I've got a couple different backgrounds in them. So cute little seal. It's so fun. And I've threw that little star print in there because I really wanted to make sure he showed, and he does in person. I mean, he shows in the camera too. But this is such a soft kind of dove gray that the whites, no, they show great. It looks great. He's so cute. Ooh, I love aquas. Beautiful. And last but not least, otters. Oh my goodness, there are so many pieces. It's so funny. Some of them are star heavy. This one, it took 2 days. Each otter took a day. But they're so cute. And they're holding hands, which I love. Oh my goodness. Look at those little faces. So cute. Okay, so I've got 2/3 of the blocks done. As I said, I've got the other 3 already cut out, so they are ready to go. And yeah, I mean, I'll have a quilt top in no time. So that's pretty exciting. That's been very fun. The colors have been really comfortable. I don't know if that's the right word. Satisfying. They've hit my happy spot. I will say so if you go to Elizabeth Hartman's website, there are corrections on the first 3 blocks. The next 3 the final 6 didn't have anything, but those first 3 blocks did have some printing errors in the pattern. So if you're going to make this, make sure you check out her website for the owl, walrus, and polar bear, because there were just a couple errors. I had to cut out a couple extra background squares, I think, that they'd been miscounted. And then on the polar bear, I want to say that one of the pieces was a 1/2 inch in error. So I had to cut out a new piece for that. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't a huge thing, but definitely something to be aware of as you go into. I didn't realize it until it wasn't working. And I had to go look, and but thankfully most designers are really good about providing a corrections page on their website or their, wherever they do it, and they're easy to find. So always a good idea to double check before you get deep into a project if there are any corrections. Okay, so the next one is the Bjorn Bear, which is another Elizabeth Hartman that I am reimagining on this one. Okay. And all of my bears, well, not all, but my bears are tucked in there. They're all cut out and separated by pages. So this is the pattern, Bjorn Bear. And here is like an overview of the original rainbow version. I am doing, where's my little picture? It's in my planner. Okay, let's see if you can see this tiny little picture. So I saw on Instagram somebody had alternated the bears with a bear paw block. And I love that. I think it's so cool. So I did some math. I figured out the block. Here's my binder. I have half of the bears done. And there will be 10 bears and 10 bear paws. So I'm not going to do the full 81 by 78 quilt. Mine is a lap size quilt. It will be more, I don't know if I actually wrote down what my dimensions will be. It's in the lap twin range. Here is my palette for my bears and backgrounds. And then here's my math for my bear paw block, which is not a hard block. It's essentially squares and half square triangles, right? And I had to tweak it just a little bit so that the bears are actually rectangular instead of square. And then I'm going to do the bear paws. Actually, I'm going to do them in forest greens, scrappy batik greens. Because I'm making this for my father-in-law, and he grew up in Western Oregon, where there is just the forests are so thick and vital and gorgeous in Western Oregon. It is just one of my favorite places in the whole wide world. But that's where he grew up. And so I wanted to bring some of that into the color palette. So the green is going to be in the bear paws, and then the bears will be very earthy. And let me stop chattering and show you my first 5 bears. Each bear is different. And they're so cool. These go really quickly. Once they're all cut out, they go really quickly. And these are all batiks from my stash. I'm trying to use my batik collection more because I have 2 buckets of batiks. By buckets, I mean large totes. And I want to use them. I love them. But I tend to hoard them like a dragon. And so I'm trying to utilize them to dip into my batik stash and make beautiful things. I like this one. This fabric is so gorgeous. It's been fun. Each bear has his own personality. His eyes are a little blendy, but it's fine. And bears are so interesting and different throughout the world, right? Like from the, black bears, which can be so many different colors. They're not just black, and grizzlies and worldwide. I don't know. Bears are just very interesting and diverse. So it's been fun to kind of pull different color combinations and give them different personalities. So I think it'll all come together really fun. Yay! So I definitely want to get my last 5 done, hopefully by the end of February, and then use March to make the bear paw blocks, which will be very simple. They'll go really fast, I think, just because I can kind of chain piece and streamline it. Line. Blop. And then we're hoping to go visit them in May, which is a month before his birthday. And I would like to take the completed project then. So I do have a bit more of a deadline with that, but I'm not worried about it. It's moving along smoothly. Okay, next one, Wensleydale. This one is by Jen Kingwell again. I've got several of her projects going right now. It comes from the book Quilt Recipes, which if you can get your hands on it, it is worth it. It's so beautiful. And it has, also, that's her with her mom and dad. It has recipes in the back because her mom, who this book is dedicated to, was a baker. So, yum. Okay, anyways, but quilting, this is, I'm going to set this, I don't want to bury that. I'll put that over here. Okay. This is the quilt, and this has been a really fun, so Elizabeth Hartman projects are so satisfying. I really, really enjoy doing them, which is why I'm working on 2 of them, and I have another one planned for later in the year. But they're complicated. So they have a lot of pieces, and I forgot I was going to tell you. So let's see, how can I mean, a lot of pieces, right? There's a lot of pieces. I mean, probably 100 or more in each block. So I use these little like sticky tabs, which you can just write on with a pencil. And I will write, you know, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They're labeled by letter. And then I'll stick this onto the fabric. I can actually show you in my bears. Maybe. Here we go. So I'll cut out my pieces, and I cut them out in order, and then I give them a little label. So that's T. And then when I get ready to start these blocks, you know, you lay them out and you follow the order. And if you stay organized, Elizabeth Hartman quilts are not hard, but they do take organization, I would say. You want them labeled, and I've tried not labeling them. I'm like, I could figure it out. I'll just measure it. But having to measure, like turn around and like make sure you've got the right size square and that it's in the right color, and basically that all your ducks in a row, it's complicated. That's a lot to keep track. So labeling helps. Definitely laying out your fabrics, your pieces, you know, in the groupings of what you're assembling with their labels is so helpful. You have to have a little bit of space to spread out with these projects, in my opinion. That's been my experience. So they take brain, right? Ultimately is what I'm trying to say. You've got to focus. You have to be engaged in what you're doing. And what this project, as we come full circle, has done for me is provided a place to kind of take down the focus and just settle in. Because I've been cutting out about 10 blocks at a time. I have almost half of the blocks done. And you'll see I've been checking them off. So I made my little picture here, and I've actually been checking them off on the picture. I'm not matching to the blocks color-wise. Here is my palette thus far. Ooh, I love this project. I love this project. But once you've made 1 or 2 of them, I drew this little diagram, which I found helpful for my first couple blocks, because I'm using acrylic templates to cut everything out because they are funky shapes. And just for the first couple blocks while I was kind of memorizing what shape went where, it was helpful for me to know that there are 5 colors each block and that they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going in towards the center. So that was just something I did to help myself do it right. There will be 60 blocks total, but once you've done a couple of them, you don't have to think about it anymore. It's just like, you know what order to do it in, and they go so smoothly and so easily, and they're so satisfying and pretty, because each one again is different. And I'll just start showing you instead while I chatter. But these have been really fun. So like I said, I cut out 10 at a time or so, and then they just sit there in a stack. And when I want to piece, but I don't feel up to like an Elizabeth Hartman block or something that takes a bit more focus, I can just do a couple of these, and they're so easy and they're so satisfying. Pressing between each step will help your accuracy, and they're just lovely. I've so enjoyed them. And I know that when this is done, this will be one of my favorite quilts. Daniel will never, my husband, will never get to use it. It'll be the one I claim. They're all my favorite fabrics. My music, tildas. I was right the first time. Got 1800s reproductions, and you know, this is a old French general. This is just a random blender. They're so fun. Gotta have a little pop every now and then, right? Oh, I love this one. And a little drama. William Morris. Love those. I love this fabric. It has little nature motifs in it. Ugh. I need to work out my arms more. My arm's getting sore. This one is so cool. This is an old scrap. In fact, it's very lightweight. It's really, really old. And I'm sure just because of how my scraps are shaped, somebody made a blouse or something out of it, or dress or something, you know, decades ago. Ugh, my necklace. And anyways, so I've just incorporated little pieces of it over the years. It is such beautiful fabric. I wish I had 6 yards of it, and I would also make a dress or back something with it so you could see all of it. I just have little treasures, and that's okay. This one has a sweet sleeping little mouse. We're almost there. 2 more. And this one. It's gonna be so fun. I love it. So easy, comfortable blocks. Very satisfying, and it's a nice calm space for stitching. Piecing, I should say. I've really been enjoying that one. It's gonna be done. I don't have a deadline for that one. I don't have a goal. It's just one I have wanted to make since I bought the book, and the time was right. I gathered the fabrics last year, and it was largely from stash. I think I bought a few pieces because I was trying to maintain a vibe. But yeah, no goals. necessarily with that one other than to just keep doing and enjoying. Okay, so this next one has been completely reimagined from its original state. So the pattern is called Sunburst. Oh, it's so shiny, so glare. So glare. I can speak. Well, it's still a bit shiny, but that's okay. Shiny. So Sunburst by Glad Creations. I would love to be able to give this pattern a raving review. As it stands, I wouldn't recommend this pattern to my mother, who is incredibly experienced and capable. And this pattern, oh, I hate doing this. But I feel like if I were looking at this without reading the pattern, I'd be like, this is easy. Anybody could do this. It's half square triangles, squares, rectangles. This is so doable. But the way the pattern is written is constantly baffling and challenging. And I found myself on the verge of quitting so many times. And I've been quilting for almost 30 years. I know what I'm doing. And I have highlighted, rewritten. My pattern is so scribbled on and I've got sticky notes all over it. And I love the results. It's going to be a beautiful quilt, but I cannot recommend the pattern, unfortunately. And I'm sorry to say that. Is it doable? Yes. If you're going to go for it, which, you know, go for it if you want to. But if you're going to, I would say, before you do anything, take your time, take a pencil and a highlighter, and make sure you understand the instructions. I have them. I'm just going to show you. Really quickly, so you understand what I'm talking about. And I'm going to show it from a distance so you can't see anything, right? There are like 12 pages of so many words. So many words. It is word heavy. And I believe the designer did it to make it, I think she was trying to make it so that anybody could do it. And she gives two different sizes that run parallel with each other and instructions for them. And she gives like cutting boxes and then instructional sections, and it's almost like she wanted to give so much information that it's too much. It's so much that it's an overwhelm. And so it becomes muddy, I guess, is the best way to put it. So is it impossible? No, I'm doing it. But if you're going to jump into this pattern, just be aware that you need to take time, not even just a little bit of time, but time to just understand the pattern before you're going into it. Okay, all that being said, and like I said, I'm so sorry. I hate not being able to give just a raving review, but I want to be honest also and informative, because I had no idea. I saw this pattern and I thought, easy peasy, totally doable. And the actual practicality of it is totally doable. But the pattern itself is a challenge to follow. So, that being said, let's look at beautiful blocks, because they really are beautiful. So here I'm calling mine Winter Sky. So the pattern is called Sunburst, but I have always identified it as Winter Sky. And this is my palette. So I saw somewhere, you know, pictures of winter sunrises and sunsets in Arctic regions, and these were the colors that were in the sky. It was so gorgeous, and I was like, oh my gosh, obsessed. I have to do something at some point with that. And batiks were the perfect application for it because they're so saturated with color and they're more movement over actual image. Anyways, so I'm doing mine in kind of an ombre of color for the block layout. And you'll see each block. Oh my goodness. I need a helper. So each block essentially has two colors. So your outer background, your main light, which goes through all of the blocks, and then a center star. So that's kind of how my brain processed the blocks. And because each of my blocks are different, I had to approach them individually, which could be part of my problem with the pattern. But she did her scrappy too, so I don't know. Anyways, so here are my blocks, and this is my main background, so that light that will go through every block, which is this beautiful, oh, it's so pretty. And I totally bought that fabric for a completely different project over 10 years ago that never came to fruition. So we've repurposed it. And then I've picked and you can see my little diagram. I've got my center and then my background print and center. So we've got my background print and my center, and that's how I'm reading my own chart here. Like I said, I kind of had to reinvent the wheel to be able to follow the pattern. So I really did do a lot of rewriting and course correcting and making it make sense for me. Anyways, here we are, and we'll go through these blocks in the order that they will fall from top to bottom. And they're also different. And it's so funny. I did the blues and purples first because that felt very December-y. And then I did the pinks the first week of February because Valentine's Day. And so the purples and blues were very blendy with my background. And then I got started on the pinks and I was like, ooh, do I still like that background? That lighter print with these? And yes, the answer ultimately was yes, because as they blend into the purples and blues, it does ultimately create the kind of effect I'd wanted. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. There's just higher contrast on some of those brighter ones. And that was okay. That's okay. I've laid them all out in order, taken pictures, and I'll post those on my Instagram after I post this video. Oh, this might be my favorite block. I love it. What was I saying? Oh, I've laid them all out and it's going to be so pretty. It's going to be so pretty. So each block is different except for the consistent lighter print. Here's that same fabric that was in the owl. I love it. Couple moments of drama because you always need to pop. So good. Oh, I love that one too. I love how this piece pulls out the blue in the print on this one. Ooh, it's so pretty. Oh, I love that one too. I love periwinkly, purpley blues. And ta-da! So all of my blocks are done. There are 20 of them. And so the next steps are, let's pull out this picture. So next step is to piece my sashings together with my blocks, create this center of the quilt basically, which I have all cut out. Those are ready to go. And then we do this piano key border, which they did a clever way. This was a good moment at the pattern where she had, because it's scrappy, she cut bigger pieces with a small strip at the bottom and then you subcut them, which is great. But mine's going to be more scrappy and I had smaller pieces I wanted to use. So I have done the math for individual pieces because, you know, if I can complicate things, I will. But it's going to be really cool. So I have so we've got that soft blue going through all of these, right? I have a blue that is complementary to complementary to this, but it's not. It has a very small, like ferny kind of vine print that incorporates some of these other colors in it. It's going to be perfect. So these outer squares will still be blue. So we're, you know, carrying that theme, but it's just slightly different. And then all of these piano keys in the border are cut from the stars prints and a few extras that weren't big enough to make the stars with. But they're all in the same palette. So it's going to be fun. That's going to be a lot of work. If I can get this center done, which I can, that'll be easy. It'll go pretty quick. It's just, you know, layout and assembly. I will feel very accomplished. And then I can spend, you know, I can kind of slowly do chunks of the border and then bring it all together, you know, before next winter, because I would love to have this quilted, and this and North Stars actually quilted and ready to use by next January would be like a soft goal for that. So we have wintry themes. Okay. So those were all my main goals, which I was flying through because everything was prepped, and I found myself needing to prep more blocks, so cut out more blocks, and not necessarily focused on the 5 or 6 projects I had going, 5 projects I had going. So I kind of went digging, and I've been doing some rearranging of furniture and, you know, kind of reorganizing of my craft space, my studio. And I found or came across an old project that has had a couple of false starts. So this is the book. It's falling apart. I need to get it spiral bound, I think, because literally pages are falling out of the binding. But My Enchanted Garden by Gretchen Gibbons. This project is so beautiful, and I'll show you there's only one project in the book, and it's this quilt, which is stunning. And I've had this border, and you know, I've hunted far and wide for the perfect batik to do these cornerstones, and I've got a stripe for my sashings. So I had the bones of the project languishing in a box for years. And a year or two ago, I started the first block, and I got most of the applique done, and then dropped it for whatever reason, probably because cross stitch. But I found it again, pulled it out, and I finished the first block. So I've done all of the applique. I am incorporating wool into my blocks, and then all of the French knots, oh my goodness, there's fuzzies everywhere. It's the nature of being in a stack of blocks, but I'll have to get a roller. Anyways, all of the French knots, they called for beads. And I just didn't really want to put a bunch of beads throughout this quilt, even though it would be one that would hang on a wall or be, you know, hanging on a stand or something like that. It's not necessarily one I would curl up with. It's a bit more of an art piece for me. But I didn't want to do beads. I don't have the beads. I have pearl cotton and silken pearl. So I just did French knots, which my first few were ugly. It had been a while since I've done much embroidery. I used to do it all the time, wool applique and embroidery, and I just had fallen off the bandwagon. So it took a little bit of warming up, but it got better. You can definitely tell by my last few that I'd found the rhythm again. But that's the first block done, which is, I think what derailed me last time is I had to move my bird. So I had it stitched down already and I had to completely pick it off because it was too high or low or something like that for placement with other things. And because I know I had to stitch that on when I picked this up again. But it's beautiful, very elegant and fun. And I really enjoyed the process. I will say I used, oh my goodness, I'm not going to remember the name of this. This is a cotton fusible stabilizer, which is great because it creates body. What's it called? I used to know these things just off the top of my head. Anyways, but you can see it's a cotton. It's got a fusible on it, a little bit of a shimmer there. And the body is great. What I don't like, and you can't see it from a distance, but when I'm working with it, I could see that it has lifted off of my background fabric. And I do not like that. It also made some moments like here where I was doing French knots through 2 layers of wool, a layer of batik, which is a tighter weave to begin with, and then my 2 layers of cotton. It was very difficult to stitch through. And thankfully for French knots, it's like straight up and straight down. But if I was having to do like a running stitch or, you know, back stitch or something else through it, that would have been very, very difficult. And to some extent, with decorative stitches, you can just work in the upper layers. But because this is separating from my background, I am disinclined. It gives it kind of a puckery look. Like, I don't know, it's just not good. I don't care for it. And I'm fairly confident, if I'm remembering right, that I had started this project using it on the recommendation of somebody else. And I'm always willing to try something new. I am disinclined to do that on the rest of my blocks. There are 8 more blocks to do for this quilt. There's a lot more embroidery and embellishment, and I don't think where it's something that will be quilted and hung on a rack or on a wall or, you know, used that way. I don't think it will affect the overall quilt to have one block a little bit stiffer than the others. So I'm not going to use this stabilizer I cannot remember the name of. Oh my goodness, it's gonna bother me. It comes in white and black. We used to sell out of it so much. People really like it. Maybe I'm just a wimp and I just don't like stitching through the extra layers. I don't know. Anyways, that's my decision. my assessment. So I'm going to slowly keep going on this. I don't know that I'm going to set any hard and fast goals with it, but it felt good to be making progress on it. So it's back in my binder, and we'll get, the second block is already cut out and prepped. So at some point when I want to do some stitching, but I want to do something a little different, I'll pull this out, give it some more love. Okay, so that was my Enchanted Garden. What is next? Okay, so here we were again. I'd finished my goals for the month. And then I saw a post on Instagram. I should stay off of Instagram. I get in trouble. But, so I showed this book a couple of years ago, probably, earlier on in my floss tube quilting bee days. And, whoa. Excuse me. Cream and Sugar by It's So Emma. And it was originally a block of the month. And I had actually originally thought I would do it pretty much as pictured with, you know, creams and tans and neutrals on neutrals. But then I saw, she wasn't even doing this project. It was just a different project that was just low volumes. And that was an English paper piecing pattern, and it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. And my idea for this is that it would be a neutral quilt that would always be on our bed, and that I could toss basically any quilt on as a seasonal accent, and it would go, it would coordinate, it would work, right? And so then I saw this Instagram post with a stunning low volume, like strictly low volumes, English paper piecing. It was so gorgeous. It was beautiful. If I can find it, I'll pop a picture up of it. But I mean, I don't know if I saved it or not. And sometimes you can, it's a fruitless mission. It can be. Anyways, so I thought to myself, what if you did that neutral quilt in low volumes? And so I went digging through my stash. I definitely discovered that my low volumes have been fairly depleted so far as larger pieces go. So I would have to supplement some, but I still have quite a bit that will work. And so I made a couple of sample blocks just to see if it would work, to see if this idea, oh, here we go. If this idea could actually be something that would be, that would fulfill my vision, right? So here's the first block. I'm going to back it up. And here is the second block, which is the same block, but different fabrics. And so the idea is, as I'm looking at these blocks, to maintain the shape, right? Because there's definitely, you don't want to lose the stars completely. Otherwise, what's the point of doing it? I may as well sew together a bunch of 5-inch squares. So we've got to have, as I'm looking at this block, there were 3 colors, right? So you've got your light for your background, a medium, and then you've got your darkest point, which is that center, which is how this is that center block right there, right? So your light, your medium, and your dark. And so if I just approach it that way, I won't lose my stars. I won't lose that pattern in there. This one's a little bit more dynamic, but these blocks sit completely away from each other. So we've got one here and one way over there. And I still want, they're so different. Anyways, I think it's going to work. I think I can see it. So I'm going to do a few more blocks and I'm going to play with it. And I actually went out and bought a few fat quarters because I found like this background, it's like 28 squares or something like that. If I've got little scraps that are like this or that, you know, fat eighths and smaller, they're not going to be able to do the larger prints. And I don't want to scrappy that. I want organized scrap, right? So I went out and got a collection of some low volumes to fill in. And up close, I love these little trees. Some of them have a lot going on. But this is one of the things I love. Hedgehogs? Or hamsters or something. One of the things I love about low volumes is that something that seems up close like, well, that's got a lot going on. But when you take them away, they read low, right? Low volume. They're light, they're airy, and when they're all put together, they work. Even though I've got everything from blue to gold to rainbow bee wings. Look at those rainbow bee wings. They're so cute. Anyways, so I'm going to push forward, and these will give me basically backgrounds, which will be nice because some of these pieces, like some of these stars get big. So I'm working on these inner stars first, is what it looks like as I went through the book. And then we'll have to build out into the bigger stars that we see, at least initially. I also found, as I was looking at the pattern, that it's very nice if you're going to make this and you want to be a little less scrappy than I'm going, a little more organized. They also give a palette page, if you will, which I love it. I love it when designers make it so accessible to recreate what they've done, because we fall in love with the image, and then I'm the person who's like, oh yeah, I love that, let's make it different. But sometimes I also look at things and I say, I love that, I want it as close as I can come. So I like it when, I appreciate it, I should say, when designers make that very doable. So this quilt finishes 80.5 inches square, which is just big enough to cover the top of a king size bed. I want this to be like the main comforter. So I need to make it basically like one round bigger. I need to add like one more row of blocks on the top and the bottom to make it closer to, you know, to have any drape at all. Really between 95 and 100 inches is going to be a nice little hangover without it being, you know, too much. Also, I quilt all of my own quilts on that machine. That machine. So I have to be able to manage it. I don't want 120 inches. That's too much. It's not impossible. I could do it. But I also don't like that much drape. I want some drape, but not too much. Anyways, so I'm going to make it a little bigger. I have not approached that yet because it's still in the beginning vision stages. Like I said, I want to get a few more blocks done and kind of settle into what I'm seeing for it. Get some more colors. Like I kind of stuck in the blues, but I want to do a few blocks that have, you know, the golds and the pinky reds and some greens and stuff, so we can really start to see the scope of what this will be. So it'll be fun. This is kind of a paint by numbers experiment for when I'm in between established goals. So kind of a little fun, creative moment. Okay. That's everything I actually stitched. Oh, I did get, where are we? We're an hour and a half in. That's okay. We're doing good. I don't know if my husband's coming home for lunch, so I should probably scoot my little bum through this a little faster, but yeah, so that's all my quilting, all the piecing I did. That's all of the piecing I did. I did mention in December that I would like to make more progress on Pretty Little Pots by Wendy Williams, which I am trying to find my tab for that. That's not it. That's not it. Thought I had these in order, but I seem to be lost in my binder. My Enchanted Garden. Oh, here it is. Pretty Little Pots. So this was a just cover up information. This was a block of the week about 6 or 7 years ago. It is still available through Wendy Williams' website, which is Big Little Fish. I will link that down below. So it can still be purchased. And the wording on the website still, it's still in the original format where she was talking about how you'll get one a week and blah, blah, blah. But the block of the week is done. So you'll get your pattern. Anyways, so there are 52 pots with little flowers, and they are wool applique with cotton on cotton. And I have finished 2 more blocks, which is nowhere near what my goals were. I was very ambitious, but I ran into some supply issues. So here are my 2 little blocks. And they all get cut down. So that's why you'll see varying sizes of background. Some of them are a little closer to what their final size will be. And then like, this one was way oversized, but they're so fun. So I've got my little pot and I'm using a little bit of fusible fleece on the back of my pots to give them a little bit of body. You can kind of see so that they match the wool. And I stitch down my wool and then I do the embellishment stitches. So it's kind of the process. And I'm pretty sure on these, all I had to do was the embellishment. I think they were all tacked down and everything last time you saw them. So I just added all of the pearl cottons. They're so much fun. Each one is so different. I'm definitely in a section where they're a bit more complicated. Oh no, I just did this one the other day. Why is that tucked in there? Okay, so I did 3. Here's the other one. It's so fun because they start out so simple. And like this one, I stitched the stems and the leaf. So they were just like floating balls. And you add in the embellishments and magic. They're just interesting. And with the variegated pearl cottons, it adds another element of interest. So I think I have around 20 blocks done now-ish. I don't think I've counted. Whoops. And I'm just going in order as she released them. I have them all printed out at this point. And I spent, excuse me. I spent a little while this last week prepping more pots. So I'm using Soft Fuse which is a very lightweight fusible web for my wool applique. What I like about it is it keeps it very soft. Whereas I found even Heat and Bond Light 2, which is supposed to be their lightest one, is still a bit stiff. And you can see this is like, it's almost like there's no glue used at all. Some people like Sue Spargle will use freezer paper and just hold or pin the wool in place as they get that initial applique done, so that there is no stiffness. And I like a little bit of fusible, partly because it gives that little glue to kind of bind your edges a little bit, gives a little bit more stability to those. But then also it holds things in place. So that's nice because I can prep a bunch of blocks and then they're just ready to go. So I have prepped, I want to say at least 10 more blocks. And these are my finished ones. I'll have to straighten those out. They're a little wrinkly, but I would like to, let's softly say, I would like to do one a week as they were originally like planned. But if I were to get enthusiastic about it, originally I was thinking I would try to do 3 or 4 a week and try to have it done by spring. It's been a weird year. Brain gremlins. And that's okay. So I'm just being kind to myself, being gentle with myself. These are all self-imposed rules that are completely unnecessary. So I'm simplifying those goals, and even if that doesn't happen, if it's one every 2 weeks, that's still more progress than I made on it last year. So, here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, I have 13 blocks done according to this, but I've made my chart. That's all 52 squares. I'll check them off as I get my flowers done. And it'll be exciting to see that one come together. It's been a long time since I cut out all of those background squares, and so, we change over the years. As I'll show you. Okay, so I've been digging through my room. I've got a couple more projects. Well, okay, one more project to show you. I kind of pulled out applique from the wings when I had to put big woods away for a little bit. I was like, okay, but I've been excited about applique, so I would like to pull something out, excuse me, that is still applique and keep that in my rotation in some way. So I went into my whips, my quilting whips, and I knew I had projects going. So I found, I've resurrected my Wendy Williams and my Enchanted Garden. And then I also decided, I've been on a Jen Kingwell kick. So this is part of the Jen Kingwell collective. This pattern was actually designed by Michell McKillop, who is part of the Jen Kingwell collective. So you can see back here, Jen Kingwell collective, who are, they do things in a similar style, but they're their own designers, just under Jen Kingwell. Anyways, so Meadow, I started this, oh my goodness, in 2018, many moons ago. It must have been 2017 or 2018, something in, probably 2018, somewhere in that range of time. And I was very enthusiastic about it at first. So I have the center, so we've got the center rainbow done. I'll show you that. And I did this first because I wanted my flowers going around to match the rainbow gradient, which you will see now. Fantastic. Oh, it's so good. So I laid this out as I picked my backgrounds and the fabrics for the blooms on all of my blocks. There are 24 flowers that go around this, and that completes the quilt. So all I have left to do is applique the dang flowers, and then I could have a whole nother top. And I love this. I mean, This might have to alternate with Oasis or something, because rainbow goodness, right? Okay, so I don't think I'm quite halfway through the blocks, but I have a good number of them done. And I know I've shown this before, at least in like my trunk show, but I'll show you again now since we're resurrecting it. We're pulling it out. Okay, so this I've done freezer paper method for my applique. And I've prepped, again this week I did a lot of prepping this week. I cut out the last 3 North Stars, I cut out the sashings for Winter Sky, I prepped pretty pots, I prepped some of these so that things are just ready to go as I feel inspired. So all of my backgrounds are black and white, which matches the center, which had a black and white dot. And then we've got wonderful, bold, you know, Tula pinks, and I mean, this is a random digital print, and cave facets, aboriginals. I mean, it's just bright, bold, beautiful rainbow colors. This is one of my favorite blocks. We'll look at it again. And this will be one of the corners, which is why it's on an angle. They're so much fun. I love them. And as I was prepping them, I was like, why did I put this away for so long? I don't know if it's because we've moved quite a few times since then, or if I just got busy, because definitely in 2019, I took on a managerial role, and you know, life was busy. So, anyways, I have all of the blocks prepped, and they are in my, I keep my embroidery, well, not my embroidery, my applique, I'll show you, in a Yazzie bag, which is basically a briefcase. But they're all in here. So I've got all of my applique. I've got a zipper here. Got them in folders. And then, like you can see, here's my first pretty pot. It's all fused and ready to start that first applique, and then they'll be ready for my embellishment. And then in this folder, I have my prepped with freezer paper flowers that are, you know, just waiting for some TLC. But I feel really good because this is all together, and then in the pockets of my bag, I don't know if I can show you this without like completely opening it, but I've got my pearl cottons, because I was super into, when I started getting deep into wool applique, I dove into the Sue Spargo, and I joined a couple of block of the months. Back when I had a job and I could afford a Sue Spargo block of the month. They're not cheap. They're stunning, but not cheap. So I have a good collection of pearl cottons, and no excuses not to do something that I love that's different. So this year, more applique. It's gonna be good. I'm enjoying this trajectory shift. Okay, so that is all of my active work. I do, of course, have other plans. Oh, this is the backing for Meadow. I mean, Pinkerton. Can you go wrong with a unicorn? No. Oh. I was all set up to blow through that project, and it just totally fell off the rails. That's okay. Okay, so let's talk plans, and then I'll let you guys go. I am all set up to finish 3 tops by the end of March. It's pretty good. I don't see you know, unless there's some unforeseeable disaster that happens in my personal life, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't finish the top for my bears, Winter Sky, and North Stars. These guys. They're just most of the way done. So I really think I'll get those done in the next month and have some tops to show you when we meet again in April, which will be very fun. But that will also create 3 holes. I've got to find some new starts, right? Yes! No, I don't need to, but I want to. So, I shared this again in December. I've really been drawn to oak moth and my forest fungi patterns. And I don't have fabrics for these. So these will not be starts in April, but they're things, I often do this where I'm like, I have an idea. Let's spend the next 6 months or so finalizing, fine-tuning, and even collecting fabric if necessary for that. So my idea for this is to combine the 2 patterns. And so I would, if we use this as the base, then I would bring in, you know, I would take out a moth and I'd put in or maybe it would have to be the reverse. I'll have to do some math, figure out what the size of the mushroom block is. But to basically merge the 2 patterns so that they are oak moth fungi forests. And so bringing in some of these leaves in place of those, you know, just in a couple spots, and just incorporating a couple mushrooms in too, and then leaving some moss floating through everything. I think that could be really fun. And I definitely see, I have to decide if I want to go like dark and moody, like dark academia, kind of, you know, deep greens and stuff, which I've been drawn to, or if I want to keep it more summer meadow, light, airy, like small florally prints and leaves and stuff. I don't know. I'm not sure what my palette would be. So I'll have to make a palette inspiration page and print that out, and then see at that point what I have in stash that would fit that vision. And so that'll be fun. This will be something when I want to be in my studio, but I'm not really in the brain space or have the desire to stitch. This will be something I can work on planning. So this will be coming hopefully late summer, I would think, for a start. We'll see. Maybe it'll be next year. Maybe it'll just take longer, or maybe it'll be sooner. I don't know. We'll see what and when, and we'll see how that develops. But that's something that's percolating in my brain. And then I'd been given a lovely watch by my father-in-law for Christmas, which the crystal fell out of the face in the first 2 days I was wearing it. And so I had to return it. And I didn't have it anymore. Anyways, it's a whole thing. It was a whole thing. And basically I got a gift card in exchange for it because they didn't have any more of the watch. So, and it wasn't like a expensive $300, like just take it to a jeweler and replace the face kind of thing. Is, you know. Anyway, so with my gift card, I bought a quilting book. And I talked to him through this whole thing, and he was totally fine with it. So, anyways, I have loved this book since they released it last year. Alice's Wonderland sampler quilt. I love a sampler quilt. I love a rainbow. This quilt does it all. It has piecing and applique and embroidery and rainbows, and I'm looking for a picture of, I think I had to download a picture of the whole thing flat out, because I think it's just drawings in the back. Isn't that right? Anyways, it's a beautiful book. It really is beautiful. And she has it sprinkled throughout are these beautiful curated like gallery photos of the quilt, which just wet the juices, right? Like, is that the phrase? Like, make me want to do all of it. And I really enjoyed my last my last rainbow sampler was the Tula's 100 blocks, Tula Pink 100 blocks. And that one takes, oh my land, like 8 yards for the background fabric. It's so much fabric. And I considered doing just scrappy low volumes for the back, for the sashing and everything on that. But when I pulled it out, Tula Pink fabrics, all of my blocks were done with Tula Pink fabrics, and they're so stylistic that it just didn't work. So I have chosen, I am totally everywhere. I'm going to wait until I can buy one piece for that. So that's in hibernation, waiting for a large purchase of fabric, which is fine. But in the meantime, this can be totally scrappy with scrappy low volumes from the get-go. It's going to be gorgeous. I love, love, love it. I have not started this. This is just brand new in my brain. Here it is. I downloaded a full picture. So this is the quilt with the rainbow. Oh my gosh. It's so good. It's so pretty. And they did theirs in the Liberty of London beautiful Tanalon fabrics. Mine will just be from Stash. And I actually tried to pull a palette for this, but because it's a rainbow and my brain, I don't know if it just wasn't, she gives a beautiful palette page. There are 100 fabrics. And so I thought, okay, just go into your scraps. It only takes a fat eighth of each piece. So a 9 by 13, or excuse me, a 9 by 22. Is that right? No. One 9 by 13 and a half. So it's not even a fat eighth completely. It's a fat 16th of fabric, of each fabric. So it's scrap friendly. That's not a huge piece. I can show you on a fat quarter. That would be approximately that much fabric. So it's a quarter of a fat quarter. Which I could probably find. But then as I started to pull fabrics, it felt restricted. For some reason, I don't know why. So I think I'm just going to take it one block at a time. And I'm going to open up my book and be like, okay, I need a blue, a yellow, and a low volume background. And I'm just going to go to my boxes and I'm going to pull it and I'll make that block. And that's how I'm going to approach this. Rather, it's a little bit more by the seat of my pants than organize everything out of it. Because I just want it to be rainbow happiness. And we'll see how that goes. If I get a few blocks into it, I'm like, no, I need more organization. I can always... I even printed out the palette page. It's sitting there for a spring start. I can always assign fabrics to the project if I want to. But right now it feels good to not. So we're just going to lean into that a little bit and have one more project. So this, and then my cream and sugar, which is being converted into a low volume. They'll just be kind of block by block, organic, pull from Stash, what we're feeling at the moment. So that'll be kind of fun. Just another little creative moment. Then I have this pattern, which I am just approaching as an idea. It's called Full Carts by Mija Handmade. I found this one on Instagram. She has a website and an Instagram. So you can find her on Instagram, Full Carts. Look up Full Carts and you'll find it. I am envisioning this in batiks, and my palette is kind of a 70s warm, but with those teals and green. That's kind of where I'm leaning. I have not pulled fabric. I think I will try to save up and purchase one cohesive background fabric for this one and just I'll pull my fat quarter. It takes a fat quarter per block, basically. If you're doing the bed size. And yeah, so I'll just go in and try to find fat quarters in my palette. And then at some point I'll purchase background. So this is just a brainchild at this point. It's not anything, but I'm excited about it. I think it will be really cool and very different than other projects I have going, which are typically leaning towards the more bright, fresh rainbow palettes because my heart wants spring, but it's still beautiful winter. Winter came back. We had a very dry, frankly, very warm January. We had a couple days, it was in the mid 60s. I wore a t-shirt. It was weird. Not what I expected moving to Utah and living in the high desert mountains. But, you know, it was warm. And now it's cold again. And we have like 8 inches of snow on the ground. So winter's back. So, yeah. But my heart is still starting to lean into those fresher colors. So as I finalize over the next month my winter projects, it'll be really fun to kind of move into some fresher projects. So things with fabrics like this. I also want to, at some point, I think that's more of a summer start, but Elizabeth Hartman has another project that I have the pattern for and background fabric for, actually, called the produce section. It's all fruit. It's so good. Fruits and vegetables. I love it. Rainbow colors again. Anyways, so that's what's happening in my studio right now. That's all the ping pong places my brain is bouncing around. Yeah, things are going well. It's all happening. I'm really enjoying March. I think I'll get a lot done in March. My sister lives very close and we often spend several days a week together, and that can slow production down, which is fine because it's beautiful, wonderful. Like yesterday we went out to lunch and I got stupid emotional as my beautiful little niece was laughing, and she's growing so fast. She's just turned 2 at the start of January, and she is just retaining things and learning new words every single day, and her communication is changing so much. It's so fascinating to see this early development. And I was just sitting there at lunch yesterday and thinking what a beautiful, beautiful thing it is to be able to share time with the people I love, and how grateful I was. And I got, I'm going to do it again. Anyways, I'm just so grateful for it. So I have no regrets whatsoever about losing quilting time. I have the rest of my life to quilt. To spend these precious moments with people I love. But my sister's going to Europe in March. And it's like that end of winter. Anyways, she'll be gone so her husband is going to take the baby to be with family because he works from home. So they're going to go visit his family for a week, and then my sister leaves for Europe for a week, and then she comes home, and then they're going to stop at my parents' house for a week. So they're going to be gone basically all of March. So I'll be alone, and I foresee a lot of quilting getting done. So it'll be very fun. It'll be very good, very productive, I imagine, as long as I don't like just turn into a vegetable and watch K-dramas. So we'll see how it goes. I won't, because I always feel like, especially through March and into April, I just kind of like start doing all the things, spring cleaning and that whole vibe. I feel like I just take into my heart and I want to do and be out in the fresh air and stuff. So anyways, I'm rambling. I'll stop rambling, let you guys go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you're getting some quilting done, and I hope you're taking care of yourself. The winter doldrums are doldrumming, I think, for a lot of people. It's been a long winter, right? It's been like 10 years. So I hope that you're just taking little moments at a time and finding happiness where you can, and that you're being creative in your studio or at your kitchen table or wherever you do your creating. Because I am so lucky to have a whole room right now, but when we first got married, we lived in a fifth wheel, and I had a tiny little storage box under our dining room table where my machine and my one little box of project sat. And I did my sewing at the basically, picnic table that was our dining room. And so, yeah, I get it. When you don't have space, it's different. But I don't know. Everything has its season, right? So winter will end. Spring will come. Everything will be okay. Until then, all the hugs. And I hope you get some stitching, some sewing. And I will see you in April for a Quilting Bee. And I'll be actually back next week on YouTube for a floss tube update as well. So I'll be around. And if you need a friend, please email me. I'm not always fast, but I will reply. And I always love hearing from you. So take care, my friends. Happy stitching.